Hello OCR students, when it comes to your F583 and F584 paper, through my experience of examining and marking here, I see a lot of common mistakes that are made by students in this examination, and this is a video to guide you how to avoid making those kind of mistakes. The one I see all the time is poor structure and especially poor technique. Knowledge of exam technique, as I've gone through in this playlist, is often very poor among students. They don't follow the recommended OCR techniques. It's important you do. The mark scheme is geared towards following technique and your structure must meet it, otherwise you ain't going to score. So watch my videos on structure and technique to make sure that's not you in the real exam. Ensure that your analysis is in depth. OCR examiners are probably up there with the most strict that I've ever known in terms of wanting depth in essays. They want everything explained. So your point, cause, consequence is so important. That's how mark schemes are made. If you don't follow it, you're not going to score very well. So lack of depth in analysis is a bad mistake to make. I see it all the time. The worst thing is if you got your exams back and you see TV on your paper, tuve, horrible, or like a question mark which shows lack of understanding. Things like that are the worst things to see. Or seen. Seen means you've been capped. It means your analysis has been so poor you've not been able to score any marks going forward. These are the worst things to see on your exam paper. So writing in depth avoids that kind of mistake. Point, cause, consequence. Watch my videos on that if you're not sure what to do. Weak evaluation and a judgment. I've covered how to do that properly in OCR. Your evaluation is just your other side of the argument, right? In OCR. So when you think about your limitations, your other side. And again, not doing that in depth is a big weakness. Lots of students think, oh, my depth is only on the one hand. On the other hand, I don't need to write much depth. Terrible mistake. On the other hand, you've got to write in as much depth as you did on the one hand. So important. And your judgments, whether it's your 5 markers, your 6 markers, common questions, whether it's your 8 mark discuss question, whether it's your 20 mark question. You've got to know how to write judgments, what depth to go into depending on what the question is. So important to nail your judgments. Application is often done quite badly, and I've written 2 extremes here. One extreme is over application. So you might get questions which are very applied, they look very applied. Even questions like that, do not over apply. It's always theory first in these exams. Always theory first, application to back up your theory. So don't over apply. Theory first, then application. But you've got to make some attempt at application. No application is just as bad as over application. Alright, level 2 in that sense is important. Reference to the case study. So if you ever see that, I've put it in quotation marks. Because if you get a question that requires reference to the case study, you need to explicitly quote something from the case study. Don't miss that. Students that miss that will then lose a lot of marks. So be careful, especially in the short questions in section A. Short answers there. You need to be careful. If you see reference to the case study in the question, you need to explicitly quote something. And lastly, how students use diagrams often can be very poor. Labels are missing. Straight away the diagram is redundant and useless in the OCR examiner's mind. You get 0 credit. So your axis labeling, your curves labeling, your equilibrium labeling, if it's anything like that, and immediately your diagram is worthless. If it's inaccurate, obviously worthless. You've got to be careful not to make that mistake. But I'd say the biggest mistake is not referring to your diagram in writing. You plonk the diagram there, you assume the examiner knows exactly what you're showing. Like I've said in previous videos, assume the examiner is a non-economist. Therefore, in your writing, you're going to refer to the diagram and explain everything you've done and shown in that diagram in detail. So important, otherwise OCR examiners are going to score you a big fat 0 for that diagram. So these are all the traps to avoid. Now that you know them, you're not going to fall into them, you're going to score great marks and avoid these mistakes. Good luck in your exams. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.